Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with this series. So happy to have you with us. Next up, we're going to have Rose Syndicate going up against Tricksters. Our map has been selected. It is Midtown. Soren, what can we expect from these teams going into this?
I mean, both of these teams are pretty big, heavy hitters. They're in a bit of a rough group and a tough group, but that just means that their level of play has to be elevated a little bit more. Midtown, I don't think we've seen a lot of it, so that's going to be definitely something to look out for. This is one where Flyers were kind of the dominant meta, so I would not be surprised if we see that get pulled out of a team's back pocket. Obviously, both teams didn't want to run into it last series, both banning out that Human Torch, which is kind of the go-to. I think we saw a bit of a Storm play, and we saw a little bit of Ultron as well, but none, together to form a composition. They were just kind of thrown in when necessary. But I would not be surprised. This is the kind of map where you could run the triple healers that I kind of mentioned before of, that Ultron Mantis and any of the big three main healers. And then rock maybe the Human Torch and something of that nature. Someone who just does a lot of big AOE damage, is able to hold a lot of choke points, which there's a lot of on this map. So I would really not be surprised if we saw something in terms of Flyers come out. But that being said, could also just as well be banned away, and we could see more of a brawl or a poke. Poke is, I don't think, as good at this. There's a lot of twisting and turning, so there's not very many clear long sight lines like there is on the Hall of Jalia that we just saw, where we saw Phoenix just do incredible work, and Namor do incredible work. So I don't think poke is going to be really the move in this, but brawl, Flyers, the res comp, I think all are still going to be on play or in play.
I'll be really interested to see what kind of combinations of that we've seen. I mean, we've kind of been thrown off a little bit by the bans from last game because they became so targeted and so personal, especially with the Warlock. I think the Emma Frost as well, the Magneto and the Cloak and Dagger. Like, it became a very personal game for these guys. So I'll be very interested to see in what does end up being chosen and what doesn't. But these two teams are very, very interesting in the sense of they kind of have a free ballpark to do whatever the hell they want with. They can be experimental, they can be different with their picks and their compositions. So it's kind of an unpredictable game in that sense. I mean, already, like you say, Midtown is not a map we see a lot of. So already we're kind of being thrown, a wrench is being thrown into the works. So we're just going to see now going into the ban phase what we can expect.
Okay, I think we are.
Right. Ladies and gentlemen,
Yeah, we are going to do
we have a couple technical difficulties on our end. It is sort of it is to be expected with streams like this. There's a lot going on all at once, but we will have everything back on track for you as soon as possible. Teams are going through the ban phase as we speak. We're just going to get things ironed out very, very quickly so you guys don't miss a beat. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. And sorry, what can you tell us about these bands so far?
I mean, right now, nothing too surprising. Like I said, Brawl and Flyers are kind of the meta. So to see Rose Syndicate, take away the Wolverine, who is one of the best brawlers in the game right now, protect that Human Torch, that is nothing too surprising. Emma Frost is incredibly good on this map. That big AoE ultimate, being so short range, can be a little bit of a downside in terms of like how far out it goes. But like I said, this is so twisty and turny as a map that you don't need a very long ultimate to get the value out of it. And it actually means that most of the time, if you're playing in more front to back, you're pretty much going to be able to get everyone because everyone has to play so close. So both teams banning away the Emma Frost, not surprising. The Luna Protect, again, the best healer in the game at the moment, followed by a ban from Tricksters, keeping Rose Syndicate from having Luna while keeping it for themselves. We do see that same thing with the Human Torch for Rose Syndicate. So overall, nothing too surprising. We do see the Magneto Protect. Again, Magneto, Emma, best in the game in general. Loki Protect. We do see a lot of strategist bans come through. But That being said, like I said, nothing too crazy. I think everything to be expected here. Not a lot of presence from Poke here either. So, like I said, I would not expect to see any Poke compositions. Brawl Flyers, I think, are going to be the name of the game for the rest of this game.
All right, let's go. Rose Syndicate in blue, Tricksters in red on attack for this first round. Of course, with it being convoy, we've got to keep in mind Tricksters do have advantage when it comes to like the spawn rooms and the distance they need to go on a rollout. But knowing the alleyways of Midtown, especially in this first position, Rose Syndicate are going to have a massive advantage when it comes to the high ground. And the corners that they're able to peek, you get a lot of control on defense in this first section of the map, as we see. Interesting with the Penny Parker, we don't see a lot of them at this point in the tournament. We've got a thing as well, Doctor Strange. So 3 Vanguards and 3 Specialists for Rose Syndicate. Tricksters here with the Groot and it looks like a Magic, Magneto, Black Panther, which would be really good for handling the backline. Obviously, we're seeing somebody hover on the Jeff. We are expecting them to switch, probably looking for that momentary speed boost at the start of the game, which can be quite valuable at this point. And now as the doors begin to open, 3 seconds left, we see the thing positioned right in front of the cart, ready to go. Magneto going in on the side, but Thing is there to counter them as best they can.
That's not the thing, that's the thong. He got the summer skin coming out, holding that high line in 2 ways. But yeah, just trying to keep this attacking team back as kills do get traded out 1 for 1. They finally get their way onto point. The Penny Mines are making it very difficult to move, especially because of the slow, as well as just the base damage that they can do. And the Thing, just getting a lot of value, being able to run in and out, that shielding that the right click does, just being able to spam it to keep themselves alive beyond just the healers. They're trying to play in and around this underside of the building directly in front of spawn. It is making it a little difficult for them to actually get the healing that they need, especially with the Moon Knight being in play. Wasn't originally picked up, but when you're being pushed back against your spawn point that aggressively, most teams on the offense immediately swap over to that Moon Knight to just crack open the defensive line, because it can be very difficult to do so. We do see them finally get the kills that they need. The reset comes out from Rose Syndicate, but the Doctor Strange switch means that they're going to get back to point very quickly.
A very good rollout. We see a pick there from Magneto onto the Squirrel Girl for Rose Syndicate. So once again, that defensive line beginning to break. An Invisible Woman ult trying to pull to sustain the team, but she gets caught by the squirrels. And this is what I was talking about earlier, is we're seeing a lot of different picks that we've seen throughout the course of the tournament. We're seeing a Moon Knight, Squirrel Girl. They've held on to the Jeff, which is real interesting. Rose Syndicate losing 3 and Tricksters now making that push. We're seeing a lot of value from that Squirrel Girl, able to get the corners and the range that they need to keep that damage up for their team. Desperately now, Rose Syndicate trying to make their way to defense, but it looks like Tricksters are going to be able to hold on to this point just a little bit longer. They are meters away from the checkpoint as Penny Parker now runs in with the mines, trying to set up, but Tricksters was able to get the point.
Yeah, the timing just a little bit unfortunate there. They go and pop the Penny ult to do what they can to try to hold it off, but they get it down after the point's taken. That means they just kind of set up these, webs back a little bit towards the more choke point area. But of course, they disappear after a while. The Moon Knight finding the value. Everyone clumped up in one area. They get melted. They do only get 2 kills off of it, but that's still a massive crack in the defense there. We do see Rose Syndicate respond in kind, getting a couple of kills, finding some of the duelists as well, forcing a bit of a reset here, but neither team is backing off quite yet as this Moon Knight continues to just dominate as they run at the back line of Tricksters.
And they're able to get out as well. Beautiful use there of the shielding from Hulk, as well as the healing from Lunar Snow. That Moon Knight refuses to die, and he's got another ultimate in the oven ready to go. 67% here as Tricksters continue to make that push. We see that Iron Man on the corner. Human Torch here might be looking for an ultimate going into the back line. Cloak and Dagger able to stay alive on the back, keeping an eye on that, probably relaying information to the team. Doctor Strange trying to get that defensive line set up, but Cloak and Dagger ult is out and ready to sustain the team. Loki setting up the clones as well. Hulk getting in there to cause a little bit of disruption. And of course, you got that Moon Knight in the back, just peppering away bit by bit. Every little bit of damage can count. Eye of Agamotto ready to go. Supernova out on the field as well. Punisher gets taken down by the Cloak and Dagger. Rose Syndicate, though, they lose their Iron Man to the Hulk, but they are able to get rid of the Cloak and Dagger for Tricksters. Rose Syndicate might finally have their defense back in order.
Yeah, absolutely. And not able to get as high of a line as we saw them wanting to play for on point number 1. This choke point is very difficult. This entry to the underpass is just very hard for a lot of defensive teams to push up past because the spawn advantage is on the attack side. But that being said, we do see ultimates immediately getting popped, doing what they need to keep their team in the mix. Tricksters finds that opening that they need, and the exile immediately on the Doctor Strange, putting him into an awkward position. Hulk jumping into the back line over top. The separation between the lines is becoming a problem for Rose Syndicate as they don't have the support that they need. They're trying to play for this point, and we finally see another ultimate and a kill go the way Tricksters, though, as they're in the back line.
We see Rose Syndicate desperately trying to hold on here as their Iron Man is going to be on rollout, but their Human Torch almost fell. They're just able to stay alive. Really good use of the Invisible Woman. And we see they're able to take out the Psylocke, trying to get around on their backline. But there is the Punisher ult. There's a try now to hold on, but the picks start coming. That's 2, that's 3. Punisher able to get the 3K, wipe out Tricksters and hold Tricksters hold the defensive lines best as they can. Rose Syndicate starting on the rollback, but Tricksters able to get the checkpoint. And now this is the interesting thing about Midtown, is Tricksters have a weird spawn. Even if Rose Syndicate is able to get a couple of kills here, the spawn point for Tricksters is actually behind that defensive line. So they kind of get the first few meters for free.
Yeah, absolutely. It also means that everyone pretty much has to scatter because there's no support for the defense after that spawn point changes. So they're going to be able to get out of that building and onto the street practically for free, as you said. This is also a very difficult point to take for more brawling champion, just because of how windy the back area it is. Also, how often the terrain changes. It can be very difficult to maneuver in and around. We do see the Iron Man, which in this spot is also a little difficult because you're just kind of trapped out in the open. We do see Tricksters finding the value for it, though. Rose Syndicate losing 2 off the rip. Strategist and a duelist is going to be very difficult. They don't really have the time to reset here as they're running out of space and time.
And now that portal set up for the rollouts, desperately try and get their team back on the objective. Psylocke's ult is ready, maybe setting up in the back, ready to go. Invisible Woman does pull out the invisible wall. Supernova out from the Human Torch as well on Rose Syndicate's side, trying to invest everything they can to try and keep that team up. Once again, though, the Exile and the freeze on that Doctor Strange is not able to get value out of the Eye of Agamotto. And Magneto was able to get a pick as well. Very good use of the ultimates here. A lot of invested. Psylocke able to get the double kill. And now Rose Syndicate unable to get back to point. Tricksters get the first point on the board.
Yeah, absolutely. That is massive for them. And they do it in pretty convincing fashion. I mean, that first hold was kind of annoying for them. The very high line was difficult for them to break through, but the swap over to the Squirrel Girl and the Moon Knight, I know some people might hate that combination, but as annoying as they can be in pubs, they're really good at breaking a line, especially when you're able to play a very safe distant back, like if you're pushed all the way back into your spawn, and they're all trapped into a very confined area, i.e. that under room just in front of the attacking spawn room. So they were able to get what they need. They keep the Moon Knight out, and they're able to play really aggressively with it. And because of how quickly that Moon Knight can just stack up the ult charge and get the ults in their pocket, it just means that every time there was, a very difficult hold or a close point, or they're just running into the wall of Tricksters, even if it doesn't find the kill, that ultimate just sends everyone scattering and means that they have to play for their life. And after that, the fight becomes chaotic, and that's exactly where Moon Knight loves to thrive, and all the other heroes that they were rocking in the last fight, and they're just able to pretty much walk it on home. That being said, now on the defense, we're going to have to see what Tricksters are going to pull out here. They too are also going to be playing for a pretty high line here, though they have not had anyone to deal with the side entrances, so the Human Torch is out for practically free and might become a nuisance here in a couple seconds.
Yeah, we see him already trying to take out that Penny Parker, who's undoubtedly got their mind set up. Human Torch going to be looking for that. Moon Knight is on the high ground. That's not where you want him to be. Perfect vantage point to place an Encore 2 and start taking out the group who are set up in that room. All of the defensive team trying to hold on, but taking out. The first fall goes to Cloak and Dagger. Very, very good use from the Human Torch to run interference, but Penny is able to get a couple of picks to even out the playing field. And now defensively, Tricksters are looking just as good as they did on offense, with Rose Syndicate locked in their spawn.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is that they actually have one major change, because Rose Syndicate have swapped over to the Squirrel Girl and the Moon Knight. It's exactly what we saw get used to break through this exact defensive line in round number 1, but it's the Groot. There was no Groot for Rose Syndicate last time, but Founding here is just able to cut off so many sight lines that the Moon Knight and the Squirrel Girl aren't able to find enough value. They do finally start cracking it open after the Squirrel Girl investment of the ultimate forces the Groot to kind of have to deal with it. Groot will eventually fall, but the resurrection, I believe, comes back out. Never mind, it revives someone else. So the one Vanguard is down, make it 2 as the Thing falls next. And finally, after all that time is ticked off the board, a minute and a half over that actually, we finally see Rose Syndicate get out of their own spawn.
And now they're going to start moving up that alleyway of the street. It's a very sort of narrow path for them to go. We see Doctor Strange setting up here for the portal rollout. So it's going to get their team back there as soon as possible. Right up on the point. But there is the Moon Knight ultimate. Was not able to get a pick. But that is a lot of damage that's going to be dished out. Tricksters already lost someone as they try to come back out. Moon Knight definitely trying to get rid of the rocket, which they do. We see 3 ults invested here. Luna Snow, the Penny Parker ult, and the Supernova as well. Invisible Woman lets out their ultimate, but 2 picks for Tricksters. It might have been too little too late for Rose Syndicate, as they are down 4-6 in this fight.
Yeah, absolutely. Tricksters doing a marvelous job. They don't die to that Moon Knight ult, though it does cause a little bit of concern, and they do struggle a little bit against that Squirrel Girl, but at the end of the day, when they're not trapped up in the corner, that Squirrel Girl's value immediately plummets. We do see them stick on it just because they have the ultimate, so it's going to find some value, or at least hopefully will find some value after this reset. But Tricksters are doing such a good job. Less than a minute left on the clock. Rose Syndicate do find the opening pick, but the resurrection comes through Rocket, so it's still a 6v6 going into this very critical fight for Rose Syndicate.
We do see the Eye of Agamotto come out, but once again, we don't see a lot of value from it. There is the Stampede, but Squirrel Girl is taken out by the Cloak. A beautiful pick there. Groot takes out the enemy Groot. Tricksters once again looking incredible on defense, and there is nothing that Rose Syndicate can do. They're just scattered, absolutely out of their mind, unable to pull together a proper defensive force. And with the last few seconds on the clock, it might be game over already. Tricksters holding the line. Rose Syndicate might have one more decent push in them before the round is up.
Yeah, Groot ult is available. Eye of Agamotto is invested right onto the Vanguard, and it is going to result in one. They are going to get revived off of the rocket again, so it is back to a 6v6 absolute brawl here on Main Street. Supernova is invested. They're immediately going into that back line, trying to separate the Vanguards from their healers. It might just be enough because the Vanguards are starting to finally fall. The Squirrel Girl value is coming true, but it's not all for naught. Kills are still going the ways of Rose Syndicate. It's still a brawl on site.
And we still got that Penny mine layer in the side room there, so that is going to also slowly chip away at the health of Rose Syndicate. They're going to be very careful here. They need to maintain pressure and position on the point. We see a Jeff coming out. This might be the C9 play that they need. Gonna pick up four members of the Rose Syndicate and just get them away from point to wait out the overtime, and that's it. With a play we have not seen yet in the Tenax Rebirth circuits 1 or 2, it was a Jeff ultimate that saved the game for Tricksters.
I'm lost for words. A Jeff ultimate finds 4, and Human Torch gets off the point to chase down the rest of the team. And because of that, they see 9 on the point. Tricksters with an immaculate push and an immaculate defense. It's just crazy. Tricksters are in a pretty rough position in standings. They have not had a great tournament of it so far, but man, they are showing some real signs of life and some really fun plays here. They're definitely making the match very interesting, and they're the first to draw blood in this series. That you can't ask for a more entertaining enter. It wasn't as close as the first series, but man, it was sure, I think, more entertaining, less high stakes, definitely more entertaining. Some crazy picks coming out.
I think what it is Tricksters came in and they said, you know what? We got to follow up Aeronite and we got to follow up Underachievers. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to win the game with a Jeff ult. And there's nothing you can do about it because we're just going to take 4 of you and leave. Tricksters have come out here, and you know what? They've lived up to their name. They are the Tricksters of the 10x Rebirth circuit, and I respect it.
I don't even know who was playing the Jeff. I will not lie. I did not catch who made that swap. But you just know the moment they saw the 4 little icons down to show that they got 4 people, the moment they saw that, they started maniacally laughing. That's probably the most fun they've had on Rivals for a minute. Man, they just... living up to their name, Tricksters, being very difficult to deal with. Also, we're just kind of setting the pace. Even the pretty good hold that was being done, or the pretty good push out that was being done by Rose Syndicate, the swaps that were made were the swaps that we saw Tricksters do in round number 1. I think practically the same composition, and even when they saw that the Groot was kind of countering them, they swapped to the Groot. So even though Tricksters won that game, it was already pretty dominant for them. They also were completely the ones controlling the game, because while adaptations were coming through, they were only coming one way, as it just seemed like Rose Syndicate were really struggling to deal with anything that Tricksters brought to the table. That being said, it is very different. So we are going to be going to domination next. So everything we just saw could be completely out the window for the next game mode.
I have it in my brain, and I would love to see it, that we see a Jeff ban purely out of spite from the Rose Syndicate.
I would love to see it.
So that they can't allow that kind of play again. And this is what we were talking about earlier, is that when you're at this stage of the competition, right, this is the last matchup before we go into the finals. So, this is the sort of lead up. This is the prelude to next week. You start getting experimental. You start throwing plans at the walls. You do something different and crazy. And you know what? Tricksters have proved that crazy can work. Maybe the Joker was right the whole time.
Absolutely. And honestly, genuinely, there might be a world. We're going to Hell's Haven. There is a lot of environmental factors for Jeff to throw you right off or dive themselves in. it would be very funny, and I don't think it would be worth the bad in total honesty. But I can see the world in which it crosses the mind of like, we're going to Hell's Haven. We already seen that they're willing to do it, and they could do it pretty well. Why not just take it off the table? Don't risk it. Play it safe. Don't have to deal with the mini terrorist that is that land shark. But that being said, we are, like I said, going into Hell's Haven. Very different domination. This is a map. I know we saw a lot of it in game and series number one, but I would be very confused if we did not see a Namor Hulk. This is one of those maps where Namor Hulk is kind of known for. It's the bread and butter. There's a lot of tight areas. Even the open area has a lot of high verticality and is more vertical than it is wide open. So those turrets just get so much value, and they can find so many kills and do so much damage and prevent so many aggressive pushes. So I would be surprised if we don't see that. There's also a very heavy presence for dive. I know BP has been getting a lot. Please give us that Jeff Protect. I beg you, give us that Jeff Protect. I want it. I need it. No, they teased us. But BPs were getting a lot of conversation in the community recently because after all the tuning down that the rest of the dive composition received over the last couple patches and the last couple nerfs, BP has kind of risen to the top to be, oh no, BP is actually really good. There was just better picks than him. So people are playing Black Panther more because he could just execute most backline targets. So I would not be surprised. I see we already see drifts hovering him. I would not be surprised if BP becomes a factor in this matchup.
Absolutely. We see Luna Snow saved there for Rose Syndicate. Banned away Magneto is by Tricksters. So maybe, potentially trying to protect the Cloak and Dagger, but we didn't see much of that from them in round one. We're now halfway through the banning phase. We see Rose Syndicate as well getting rid of that Human Torch. Want to get rid of the Flyers, like you were saying, a lot of verticality. So Flyers can be incredibly valuable. We see the Storm being hovered. Wolverine gotten rid of that. Someone who can deal very well with backlines and Vanguards. A very smart play there. We see Loki banned away from Tricksters, trying to, get rid of that very useful specialist, jack of all trades, if you will. Ultron saved from Rose Syndicate, another hero that can make a lot of use out of that verticality. Invisible Woman banned away from Tricksters, very smart. We saw a lot of value from them in the last round, holding that point. We're down to the last save and the last ban. We're going to see what these teams are trying to cook up, any last minute changes they want to make. Oh, they're hovering it again.
Yeah, do it. Give it to us. We want it.
No, they saved the Luna Snow, dude, Tricksters. And are we going to see that last second ban? Should they have saved Jeff the Sharp from utter defeat? No, they ban away the Bruce banner. So maybe trying to protect themselves from those Gamma Squids. Very, very smart. We do see the Jeff. We see the Jeff hover, and normally that's just for the speed boost at the start of the game. But when it's Tricksters versus Rose Syndicate, kind of hoping it's a Jeff play. We see drifts there with the Ultron. We see Storm from Gavin. Storm was very popular in the first circuit. And we see Doctor Strange, Human Torch, Venom, Ultron, Rocket, again, Luna Snow. Very interesting pick so far. And that Penny too. So the mines are going to be in play.
Yeah, and we do see, both teams are going to be rocking the triple support line. I mean, I was mentioning it before. Mantis, I think, has been growing in the meta, but on this map very specifically, I don't think Phoenix gets a lot of play because, again, it's better for Brawl and Flyers. It's not as good for long-range poke champions. So the fact that Phoenix isn't in play, that opens up proceedings to allow Rocket to actually be allowed to play the game. So to see the Rocket, to see the Ultron paired with Luno, the outright healer, not too surprising. They can get a lot of value out of that. Rose Syndicate does swap to the Squirrel Girl, which I think is a choice. Tricksters are also rocking the triple strategist, but they got the mini terrorist. So
I see it, Jeff. I see it, Jeff.
We see a Jeff. We'll see if they keep it. And of course, it's Tricksters rocking them. So we'll see how it goes. but we do see both teams sticking with the double Vanguard, pretty similar, more divey Vanguard in the form of Penny and Venom. Actually, do see a swap finally over to the Emma. There was a portal invested. It is going to delay Tricksters to the point by a little bit. It does mean that this point is going to be pretty heavily contested, but Rose Syndicate are going to have the advantage. And say what you want about Jeff, but the ability to do a lot of damage while also healing up your own allies has been getting a lot of value. We do see the fight in the skies, though, as Drifts on the Ultron, big damage dealer, is doing what they can to secure kills.
Rose Syndicate taking out. Jeff gets a kill on Luna Snow. Very, very well done. Tricksters able to get the point first off. And it's stuff we haven't had to discuss. We've not seen a Jeff in play so far, but of course Jeff's stream was changed to deal damage as well. So it'll be very, very interesting to see how that affects the ultimate output for this. We see Rose Syndicates trying to start and make a push here on the left-hand side, but the defensive line set up by Tricksters is impeccable. Given a little bit of space, but they're able to control through this choke here as the map continues to bend and shift to the will of the defensive team. Ultron sets up his ultimate, looking for a couple of picks in the sky there. Able to get a few people damaged out, but gets focused very, very hard and gets taken out. But one is traded as well, as Tricksters were able to pick off one of Syndicate's team. 5 apiece going into this fight.
Yeah, absolutely. The res coming out from the rocket is keeping it so equal, but 1 and 1 get traded out. Tricksters were the ones to secure the point, hitting that 50, almost 60% mark. So they're going to be feeling really good, especially as they have pushed Rose Syndicate all the way back to their setup area. They're still sticking with this flying composition, which is finding value, but now they're having to play a little bit more on the flank, sending the Hulk over on the right side, which can be valuable. It finds a lot of space. However, it does mean that Rose Syndicate's flyers have to push out with pretty much no defense in their back pocket. We do see the Sharknado come through. Arguably one of the best ults in the game. It finds 2, double kill picked up. The Shark and Storm menaces on the battlefield.
Very, very good use of some synergy there. And Storm's able to get another kill as well. I think that's 3 total for this fight. Luna investing their ultimate to try and make sure their team gets through to overtime. Doctor Strange did invest the Eye of Agamotto, but it's not enough. Storm able to clean it up. 1 left on point, and now the overtime bar is slowly ticking down, and Tricksters take the first point in this domination matchup.
Yeah, absolutely. The Flyers were just a little bit too dominant there. The switch over to the Storm. Storm not seen as one of the better Flyers on the current meta. We saw them get picked out because that ultimate is just so helpful. And unironically, the Jeff and Storm, that Jeff NATO, is one of the best ults in the game. It just sucks everyone in. It does incredible damage already. Plus, it does the tick damage from Jeff's ult. So it just means that if you get sucked up, unless you are a Vanguard, you're pretty much dead unless the tornado gets dealt with. It is very scary. It does come at the downside of generally being a little bit weaker, but the play for Tricksters has just been so clean. They're playing really well off each other. They're making the adjustments that they need, changing the composition on the fly to deal with the threats that Rose Syndicate have been bringing out. And because of that, even though the Duelist and some of these strategists line may be a little bit weaker, they're still finding so much value, and they're keeping Rose Syndicate in a rough position. The portals are going to be matched. They're just running at each other. They don't even know it.
They have the exact same idea, and honestly, both have kind of benefited a little bit from it. Now this fight is just taking place on all corners of the map. It does look like Tricksters were able to get a slightly better positioning from it. They're able to walk backwards towards the point. But I think we're in a position where Rose Syndicate are attacking from Trickster spawn. Oh, we see Iron Man get caught by the Eye of Agamotto there. Was able to survive, but Rocket going to try and mop up that Doctor Strange, which they do. Hulk able to get rid of the Jeff and the Ultron, 2 massive specialist picks, and trying to mop up the, I believe, yep, they are able to get the Emma Frost as well. And now it is Rose Syndicate with presence on point percentage starting to climb.
Yeah, you can copy my homework, but just change some of the answers. Just change the wording a little bit, as both teams have the exact same idea. In the end, Rose Syndicate comes up on top. They're hitting that 20% mark on the point secured. We do see the Storm immediately trying to find its way. That Rocket has to run for their life. Does get trapped into the corner. Meanwhile, having one of the big heal bots on your team get taken away means that the front line is weakened in the process. And now the kills start going the way of Tricksters as the point is almost certainly taken. Bruce can't do anything. Tricksters secure the point. Oh, Bruce is still alive. Never mind. He's in the lava. Never mind.
He jumps.
They gave him his own way out, apparently.
If you're gonna die by your own hands. That's the best way to do it. As now Tricksters starting to push on the Rose Syndicate spawn point. They're gonna flank left here to try and get around them. We've seen Namor pulled out with the Hulk there as well. That's gonna be huge for them if they can get those turrets up. That's gonna be a massive amount of damage. That's gonna be able to deal with the specialist in the back and maybe even deal with the Storm as well. However, it doesn't look like they're able to get a massive amount of setup. Tricksters very, very good at keeping their eyes on all of the high ground. Does set up the Gamma Squid. We'll see if it's able to get a pick. Aya Bagamoto ready to go, but gets caught by the Emma Frost. Completely shot down and eliminated. Very beautiful work. Does get picked up by the Rocket Res though, so they are still alive. There's the Jeff ult. I don't know if he'll ever get anybody. He was able to get 3.
He gets 3. And again, and again, and again, as the ult gets popped. And that's it. The clear comes through. Tricksters officially taking the lead in the percentage. They're able to take so much space, and so many ultimates were used. Yet even after all that, it's going to be even going into this next fight. 70 seconds. Even if this does not go their way, there's still the opportunity for them to retake. They are going to invest the portal, and they're immediately going to run into the wall of the tornado and struggle to get out.
See, this is why we should have banned the Jeff. We should have banned the Jeff at the start of the game, guys. Storm does get taken down, but that's 2 picks from Trickster. 3, 4, 5. Hulk is the only one still alive, and he's forced to hold back once again. Trickster's getting those last couple of percents. 100. Ladies and gentlemen, Tricksters with a clean sweep.
And you know what? I'm going to say it. I'm going to be the one that's brave enough to say it. The reason they won that game was because of Jeff. That last final big fight, Jeff finds 3, forces the reset, forces the portal, and gives enough time and makes it so that since the fight doesn't get spread out longer, it means that Storm's able to save their ult. So when they do portal in, they just run into that wall. Both games decided by the Jeff play. Jeff ultimates. Insane performance for a Trickster. I mean, you can't ask for a much cleaner win.
I'd like to pitch the theory that every meta is a Jeff meta. Every meta is a Jeff meta.
You're not wrong. Jeff is one of those heroes where you could always find a little bit of value, even if he's not the meta. I can see it. I believe in that theory.
And we can, you know what? I can genuinely be happy to say now that I think the Tenax Rebirth circuit has seen just about everything that it could offer. We've had a game where Jeff was the deciding character pick. I'll say it again. You should have banned him. If you'd have banned him, you might have had it go your way. Might be having convergence tonight. But, ladies and gentlemen, incredible showing from Rose Syndicate and Tricksters. Very experimental gameplay, but very exciting, high-octane gameplay nonetheless. Always beautiful to see it. And that's it. That wraps up the group stages. Next week, we're going to finals.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything to play for. I think we're still waiting on a couple of games to play out. So not every position is yet solidified, but I'm sure you'll be able to find all that information over on the website. But that being said, I think that's all that we got for you guys tonight. Of course, special thank you, CJ, for joining me on the desk. Best play-by-play in the business. Special thank you to Aggressive and Serious in the back, making sure production goes off without a hitch. Or the new project manager, making sure everything things going off smoothly in the background. To Lulu, thank you. And of course, special thanks to the players for coming out and showing out. Every game today was an absolute banger. Even if it wasn't close, it was damn entertaining. So be sure to check it out. Again, special thanks over to Tenax for making sure everything's running, all the TOs. Special thanks to Crack Media for making it so that we can actually put this event on. And of course, special thank you to you guys watching, because if you're not watching, what's the point of us doing this? With that being said, I believe you can find us same time, same day next week. It's going to be the playoffs. Everything to play for. It's going to be banger after banger from here on out. So we will see you next week when everything actually counts. Hope you have a good night.